Hey there, welcome back to Verbose DevOps. Today I'm going to show you hands-on, step-by-step, exactly how to find example or sample DevOps code that you need, whether it is Kubernetes manifest, YAML files, or Terraform, CloudFormation, Ansible, Python, Shell, Bash, or anything, even documentation. I'm going to show you. And this is kind of like my secret weapon that we're using here, and it's GitHub search. So go to github.com/search. This is the biggest, huge single source of open source code in the world. There are other places you can go, but none of them are as big as this, and I feel not many people know about this. So just go to github.com/search. This is the page you get. Let's just say I type in test, right? Then I'm going to get something that kind of looks like this. Just wanted to bring you to this page. So it returns some results, but you can see here we're going to be using heavily this language filter, and also by default it will search repositories, but we're actually going to drill down to code. So let me click on code and load this up. Now I got to tell you, you have to have a github.com account already. If you don't already have one, just create a free one. Everyone can get one, no problem, and log in. If you don't log in, then it won't let you search for code. It'll ask you to log in or create a new account. You can find repositories no problem without an account, but if you want to get code, which is what we're doing, then you definitely need to have an account and be logged in. So let's do some specific searches. Let's go up here and remove this, and let's say I want to find some sample Kubernetes manifest. Then for example I'm going to use a keyword like demo, and you got to think of what is in every single or most or many example Kubernetes manifest, and of course you're probably going to have a deployment. Now it's not case sensitive, so I haven't bothered to change the D to an uppercase. This is fine. And you can just leave it like this, but what I strongly recommend that you do is to type in language as well, and then you get a choice, and I can scroll or I can just type it directly in. So I'm going to type in YAML. I know it's not a language, but for the purpose of GitHub search it's kind of considered a language. So let's press enter, and you can see we get all kinds of examples from other people. Let me just scroll down for you. And you see that many of them actually in the path, because the path also gets searched as well as what's in the file name, many of them have the word example, demo, that sort of thing. So this is pretty cool. It highlights what you were searching for. I know we searched for kind deployment and it only highlighted kind. It is actually looking for the full kind deployment. That's a little bit of a bug in the UI of GitHub search, but rest assured it is definitely trying to zero in on kind deployment. So we can change it up as well. Demo is not the only word, right? We can type in the word sample and we get something similar. Look at this, it's searching the path. Sample HTTPS backend, sample app, sample.yaml, app sample, samples, pod info, etc., etc. So this is super useful and super powerful. Something that you can do, so this is, I'm going to go in here. I'm actually going to lose this first part here, and we're back to kind deployment, but I still want it to find something that's similar to sample code. I'm going to actually here specify a path. So what you can do is you can do something like this. You can say I want the user carry character, and you say I want it to be like this. And you see here it's actually looking for anything with K8s in it in the path. So that's pretty cool. We're looking for a kind deployment, but that's under a path called K8s, and yeah, it comes up with this. So this is pretty cool. A lot of this is likely to be, well, it says here dev, but it's likely to be production code here as well. So we're kind of beyond just sample and demo code, but it could be like real code now. But still, someone is organized enough to stick it in a folder called K8s, and you see all kinds of things. You can actually, by the way, I know I typed that in directly, but you can you see there's example paths down here. That's how I constructed that command. So if you see this one here, K8s Redis commander. If I click on that and I go to the top, you can see what it's done there. That's basically how I got that K8s. So yeah, I hope you find that useful. You can go down and look at these other filters as well. Let's look at something slightly different. We'll go back to the previous query, and instead of obviously deployment, let's say you're looking for something else, you just type it in, right? Stateful set. And again, we've got something different, but this time it's looking for different, similar under the K8s path, but instead it's looking for a different resource type. It's looking for a kind stateful set. So that's how you would do that. It's a great way of finding the own code that you need. Let's look at something completely different. So I'm gonna go back here. Let's say that we are looking for, we're still looking for a manifest, but we're not sure about the resource type, but we know that inside it's going to be something like this. Okay, so we're looking for code for an Nginx load balancer. We know it's probably going to have name of the resource, Nginx public or just Nginx, and we also know that somewhere in there's going to be a type load balancer, and of course we know that this should be a YAML. That way we're going to get returned a manifest. We're not going to get, otherwise you get a risk it's going to give you like just a document, a readme file or something like that, markdown file I mean. And there you go. See, I didn't say type load balancer, but I knew that would probably be enough. It's going to be a manifest, and it's going to have, I wanted like some kind of ingress but with an external, so Nginx public, and it's come up with this. Obviously you're coming into this knowing what to look for. I mean, of course you can just type in demo or sample, but sometimes you know what you're looking for. You put in a few keywords and zero in on what you need. So here's another example, right? Let's say it's a bit of a longer one. So I had a case where I wanted to find some sample code for monitoring on Kubernetes, and wasn't exactly sure, but I knew that there were some Helm charts that were really popular out there, and that's one of them, Kubernetes stack, and another one is, this is for logging, Grafana Locky, and I knew that another Helm chart was called Grafana Promtail. And I knew that, and I know how to install these just using the Helm command line tool, but I really wanted to see how people were putting this in code. So what you can do is you can just search for all three, and you think, well, where do they all three simultaneously occur? And look what we're getting. We're getting a chart file here. Someone is running a lightweight Kubernetes distribution, K3D. This is actually provided by the vendor, so this is likely to be really, really good sample code. This you'll often see. You'll see like a third-party commercial, some company that is using open source tools, and they're publishing their own code for you to use. Maybe it's code that they use internally, most likely, or it's code that is available for their customers or whatever. And you can see this is a readme file. Okay, so that's different. I think that's a make file, MK. This is a bash script that uses that. And again down here we've got another readme file with instructions, another shell script down here, install logging, another make file. You can of course zero in if you want only manifests or bash scripts. You can, suggested paths are here, often based on what it found out there as most common paths, so you can click on those, or you can type in and get really customized up at the top. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now let's switch to something else, not Kubernetes. Let's say that we are looking for example Terraform code. So I've got an example here where I went to a search engine. This is typically how I find a module. I'll type in Terraform registry, AWS, which is the provider, and then EKS, which is the product or the service underneath that. And it came up usually in the first few hits with a direct page, so I'll save opening that. I've already opened it here. And there we go. And what I would probably do is I'm going to look for the resource type. So here we've got resource AWS underscore EKS underscore cluster. So I know that's what I need to search for. So let me copy that. I could copy the word resource as well, but I'm not going to bother with that. So let's erase this and let's type this in, and I could just press that, for example. But actually I know that I want a particular language because that's what I want to zero in on. So what is it? Well, for Terraform they got it's all written in their own language, HCL, HashiCorp, something something. I forget what C is, maybe configuration. So HCL, and here we go. We're getting a bunch of Terraform files all ending in TF, and they're all using this. Now some of them will be modules and some of them won't. But for example here, this is a file. It contains the resource in it and some examples of how it's used. So pretty cool. Of course you can add the word demo if you wanted to, and zero in. You can go whichever direction that you want to. I've got another example here of, I wanted to look for CloudFormation templates, and it's been a while since I did CloudFormation, so I just typed in AWS CloudFormation example, and straight away I saw that there was a docs at AWS sample templates. So this is actually in itself a good place to start. So here's what I opened, and there's an example here, and I remember now that it's in both JSON and YAML, but I'm looking for more than just AWS examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, because I remember now that this is present in every single CloudFormation template, and go back here. Let's erase that. Let's paste that in, and let's put language. And I know this is going to be YAML because remember it's only JSON or YAML. So click on that. Yeah, that's a bad habit I've got there, but let's just type that in, and immediately we've got some example templates. This guy's actually very famous. He has a whole bunch of code and often appears when you're looking for DevOps stuff. And yeah, there's someone else, and looks like this is a company maybe, Digital Sailors. But anyway, you get all kinds of templates here. And what is probably worth doing is knowing what you want to build. So for example, I remember now that this here is an example of when you're looking for something for a VPC, or we could say that we're looking to create a VPC with a particular CIDR block. So we can just filter down, and I'm just gonna insert that here. Oops, I need a space there. Press enter, and there you go. There's a lot of now different examples where CIDR block is quoted. Actually, CIDR block is used within many different things. This is great for doing research when it's something new and you're not sure of the usage, and you want to see a lot of usage examples, and you get an idea also for what the tech can be used for. So super cool when you're able to search and so quickly get back targeted results. Let's have a look now at something different, Ansible. So for example, with Ansible, I know that these things in general are called playbooks. So I'm going to type in playbook, which I think is going to search on, if not the code itself, but also the path and maybe the file name as well. I think that's part of the path. And I know in every Ansible playbook there's always a hosts section and there's always a tasks section. So that's why I'm doing that. And I'm going to also put language YAML, because we know that they're YAML. And immediately I get back a bunch of, look at that, straight away one of them's a sample actually, but I get all kinds of different Ansible playbooks used for different things. So super useful. Let's put in the word demo here, because we might be just starting out. And what do you know? Demo playbook, demo cluster, setup demo, Ansible product demos, straight up. Playbook demo, demo playbook. So super useful. Obviously you can replace the word demo with sample and any other synonyms that you can think of. So here's another example of something that I wanted to do. So I wanted to make a playbook that installs Terraform. So I googled, or use start page install Terraform, and it took me to this page. And I then drilled down to Linux and was looking for the binary download. And if I go to AMD 64 and hover over that, I don't know if you can see that in the bottom left, In fact, what I'll do is I will copy the link address, and it looks like this. So what I'm really looking for is I'm looking for some code that contains this path in it. I'm not going to put the version number, and that's also my recommendation. If there's something like a version number, don't put that in because you won't find as much code. Version numbers change all the time. Just take out this part. And if we now go back to here and we clear this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in quotes. I'm not sure if I have to do that, but I think it's a good idea anyway. And we'll say the language, of course, is YAML. And let's take a look. In fact, I did forget something there, because look, we're getting all kinds of other YAMLs. So what did I forget? I forgot to say that this is really for Ansible. Now I'm not going to use the word Ansible even. I'm just going to say playbook and Terraform, because probably in there the task is called Terraform, let's say, or maybe even it could be in the path. And what do you get here? You get a whole bunch of Ansible playbooks where there's a task with a name to download Terraform, and that part there, the prefix, is what I was looking for. And oops, I'm actually going into that code, which I don't want to do. I want to keep on this page, and you can see here that there are examples where they've even parameterized out the version number. So this is really good dry code where you're using dynamic references and not static references. So over time you can update the version, and you won't have to go updating it all over the place. You can just do it from one central place. This here is a bad example. Look, he's used the exact static version. This is a good example, parameterized out. Lots of playbooks with a mixture of techniques, sometimes parameterized out, sometimes static. And yeah, this is just great sample code for doing this kind of thing. I'm not even going to bother putting in the word demo, because this is something more specific. I don't think adding the word demo or sample is really going to help us here. So yeah, that's a great way of finding Ansible playbooks. Let me show you now something else, which is, let's say I want to find some Python code, and you may already know. If you don't, it's not difficult to find out, but Boto3, one of the most popular Python packages, is what is used to use Python to make AWS automation of infrastructure. So I just searched for Boto3, and I searched for CloudWatch because I knew ahead of time that CloudWatch was what I wanted to use in AWS, and they come up with a bunch of links, and my eye was drawn to this straight away, Amazon CloudWatch examples. So I've already got that page preloaded for you, and I went down to one of the examples, and it, as expected, it had the word import Boto3, and it had this part, which is quite normal in using Boto3, is that one of the first things you do is you choose a service and you create a variable. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to copy a couple of things here. Well, actually I'm going to copy this part because this is the most difficult to type. So copy that. Let's go back now to here. We are going to clear this out, and I'm going to type in a few things. I'm going to type in the word example. I'm going to type in that first line of Python, which was to import Boto3, okay, and then also in quotes I'm going to put in that big string that we just copied, so that we know we want an example. It wants to be importing Boto3, and it needs to be about CloudWatch. And this part I don't really need because it's pretty obviously already Python code, but you know, just so that we can avoid things like documentation, I want only Python code. So I'm going to click on Python, or I could have just typed that in, right? So let's press enter, and what do we get? We start to get examples. Look at this, AWS doc SDK examples, example whatever. He's making a handler for something quite specific. Dev skill, I don't know if that's a company, but here they've got AWS examples for listing metrics in CloudWatch. This is just someone's personal code. Tails is a company. I think this is the same as the company, and they're showing stuff here. So super interesting what you can find. Another company here, really great. It's not just individuals who are sharing their code, as I say, it's also many companies, pioneering companies. You can change this now, example, to demo or sample if you wanted to. And yeah, I just wanted to show you that. Let's do another example here. This is not also for Python, but this is not AWS, this is just generic. So for example, let's say we wanted to find an example of code that is using two particular modules or packages that you have a particular interest in and want to see examples of when they're both used at the same time. So in this example, I've said the request module and also the logging module, both of which are very popular, especially in DevOps. So I'm also going to add the word example, and of course we're going to say that the language is Python. I'll just type that in myself. Don't think you need to put uppercase P. I think you can just get away with that. And let's press enter. And here we go. We're now getting some interesting things. If I scroll down, sometimes you do need to scroll. You do get some, don't want to call them false positive or false hits, but sometimes, you know, your first query won't quite get what you're looking for, and you can improve it. But already now we're seeing some examples here where they're being imported, and if you were to click on them, you will see what they're doing. All kinds of weird use cases. A couple here, NFTs, I'm not sure why. Sticker converter, I don't know, something to do with models. Maybe this is machine learning. Okay, I don't know what that is. DAO sounds like it's related to crypto. I'm not sure what Prisma is, but you see there's all kinds of interesting use cases, and this is typically what you'll get, and you can zero in if you need to with other words. So finally, I want to show you some examples for finding great documentation. So here we're not even at documentation. I want to show you some examples now of getting shell or bash scripts. So let's say, for example, that you are going to do a Kubernetes upgrade, and you know you're going to need to cordon and drain the nodes, and you really want to use some automation for this instead of typing in the commands. Or it could be other kubectl commands, right? So kubectl, cordon, drain, and the language we're going to say it's shell. This is how you find bash scripts. And yep, oh, there's that guy again. You do find again all kinds of scripts for cordoning and draining nodes. So this is super interesting, and again it's a mixture of companies. Look at this, is actually by Azure, companies and individuals. Super interesting. I wish there was a way to see which code was more starred or more already highly rated, but I don't see that here. Maybe there is a way, I'm not sure. Perhaps under advanced search you can do that. Believe it or not, this is not the most advanced search. This is just like a regular search. So something you can add there if you really wanted to, I suppose, which you could say upgrade, and probably upgrade Kubernetes. There we go. Cluster upgrade, exactly as I thought. So that is an example of where you can zero in. Of course, the more you zero in, sometimes you end up getting too focused, and you actually want to back out. So sometimes you want to stay quite open and wide with your search, and at other times you want to go in. Here is another example that I wanted to show you. So for example, it's very good practice to do in code various checks, makes your code more robust and error bug free. So for example, let's say you want someone in their code who is doing a check to see if a third-party tool is already installed. So just type in check and is installed. And remember, this is going to search comments as well. So look at this example, check. He's got a function to check if a tool is installed. And this is the same thing here. Check. I think it picked up installing. He's checking to see if Python 3 is there. And in this case, he's using the command -v. And in this case, he's using the type command. Check if yarn is installed. Again, command -v. So pretty cool. You can see you can search basically for logic. I really like that. Now here is another example in shell. I'm going to leave that part there, and maybe let's just start from the beginning. I'm going to say gcloud beta container. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a cloud CLI command, and I'm looking for examples of this. I'm saying, oops, I didn't spell that right, language shell, and this will find me all kinds. Look at this. This is actually from Google. This is from a vendor, Spinnaker, and you're finding examples of using gcloud beta container, which is the standard command to create a cluster and other things in Google Cloud. And yeah, you'll see all kinds of use cases. Now let me zero in on this. Let me get more specific. So I'm going to look, because you can use that for many different things, but I specifically want to look for cluster creation. So I know that clusters create. This is on the simple GCP docs page. I know clusters create is specifically to create clusters. And look at this. We're getting all kinds of examples when this is used. And a lot of these are vendors, which is super interesting. So yeah, this is really good example of looking for sample demo code by zeroing in specifically on what we need to do. Here is another, I'm going to put in another word, right? Let's look at this. Let's say that we want this to also node locations as a parameter to be in here. And then I've got examples of how that is used. So here they've put two different, not regions, two different zones. And this is more parameterized. But again, I wanted to find some specific examples for this parameter that I wasn't sure what to put. And this is how to do it. Let's say, this is similar to the earlier query. This is something very different now. Let's say that we wanted to find someone with a shell script who has used the Helm command. And what I can do is I can say Helm repo add install. And I could put that in quotations, but I'm just going to leave that. And it might be that the order changes in some cases, so let's leave that. I want to find some demos, some samples. And again, we have found some great examples. This is quite cool. He made a variable here for the URL. I like that. I also parameterized out the version. This actually looks like an environment variable maybe. So it gives you a lot of ideas, and you see how people are using things. And I really believe this can help also improve your own code practice. Sometimes you come across some really super neat code and you're like, wow, that is super cool. Like, look at this. This is kind of interesting what's going on here. That's super interesting. You will find ideas that you never thought of. So it's a great way to improve, you know, not just to copy and paste examples, but it's a great way to improve your own techniques as well. So finally, I want to show you an example, is what I mentioned before. I want to show you an example of looking for documentation. So for example, if you just type in something like Kubernetes cheat sheet, and what we want as a language now, it's not listed there, but you want Markdown. So I can now click on that and press enter. And you're not necessarily going to get cheat sheets for, you know, but you look at this, you will quite often get a bunch of notes and stuff like that. So okay, someone down here has done notes on Kubernetes. These are their personal notes. Some of them are more generic because, you know, cloud or links. It may not just be Kubernetes stuff. Let me change this, right. For example, I could say something like kubectl cheat sheet. And what do we get? Awesome Kate's resources and some interesting stuff on kubectl. This is just DevOps books. So yeah, sometimes it can be a little wayward. It won't give you perfectly what you want. Look at this, kubectl commands. This is pretty cool. Again here, so you get all kinds of stuff. Let me show you another example looking for documentation. This is the last example. So if I say Nginx and cert manager and Helm. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a document where it describes using Helm to install Nginx ingress and cert manager chart, Helm charts. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's very popular when you're bootstrapping a cluster to install Nginx, because it's a kind of standard ingress, and also cert manager, because a lot of people are using cert manager for certificates management. And I'm looking for a document that describes this. And now it's come back with this, and probably it's best to open these up and have a look, but this is going to tell me these are people who are already using Nginx and cert manager, and it's going to tell me also, probably going to give me some clues as to how to use them. So you got some stuff here about cluster issuers and challengers, but not only that, but also perhaps other important Helm charts which are generally being used as well. So for example, he's got here Grafana Prometheus community charts, so that's interesting. I don't know what Ember Stack is and Reflector, but he's got it in amongst all the other ones. So I'm already super interested as to what that might be, and I'm probably going to learn something as well. So yeah, I don't know what HTTP Inspector is. I've never heard of that, or Registry Creds. Super interesting. I wonder what this is. And this is an example of him installing Nginx Ingress. Looks like a consulting company. It's probably what they use with their clients. So you know then it's probably going to be in quite a good state, well maintained. So yeah, this is why I love looking for code here. It's really, really super interesting. Datadog, Keta. Not sure what Keta is, so I'll be looking at that as well. So yeah, this is GitHub Search. I hope you found this video super interesting, and you now know how to use it yourself. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and come back for more. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this super useful, and have a great day. Take care. Bye bye.